are again. This time we're talking about pom-poms and about sewing on pom-poms. This year we're going to be using these fake fur pom-poms.
A whole range of different colours that will hopefully coordinate with the hats.
Yeah, Mel's got the little,
pieces.
for the pom-poms that we're going to be using for the baby hats to go with the merino yarn, which are like a short, what would you call
Yeah,
that?
they're furry, I suppose, whereas
fur.
we've got
Yeah.
the big fluffy ones.
Whereas these are the big fluffy ones that we're going to be using for the adult hats. They might need a little bit of a zhuzh actually, but you know, they're okay for now. All of these new fake fur pom-poms have a little elasticated tag on the bottom, which you would think, wouldn't you, that you'd be able to just sew through and that would be the job. But unfortunately, we need the pom-poms to be really secure, don't we, Mel?
Yeah, because
really.
they're often a little bit too loose, or it means that they flop around rather than being nice and secure.
Yeah. So it's not as straightforward as just plopping it through there and you're done. We have to do a little bit more securing work. So Mel's got the Cocoa Bear, which has obviously got two pom-poms, and I think you're going to talk a little bit about where they go.
Yeah, so we've got the back seam, obviously at the back if you've done it flat. So when you've got your crown shaping, you'll see there's the sort of segments where you've got your decreases. So you just want to make sure that there's 1, 2, 3 in between where you're going to put the pom-poms, and they're basically going to be at the very end. I suppose it's the beginning actually of where you started your decreases.
It's the beginning,
yeah. So this one.
So it just goes at the start of your decreases.
And that one on the other side. So they're pretty much going to be equidistant away from each other.
Okay. And obviously for the big fluffy pom-pom, it's going to go on top. Okay, so there are lots of different ways that you can secure pom-poms, aren't there? And I think sometimes Mel uses a different way than I do, and everyone has their favourite way of securing pom-poms. And that's great. The main thing is, hey, that they need to be
nice and secure.
Super secure. We don't want wobbly ones. So for this one, I've got an Amy that I've knitted in aubergine, and when I finished it off, I sewed over the end, but I didn't cut it off, so that I can use this end to sew on my pom-pom. So I'm going to go ahead and thread that onto my needle now, and now my.
So obviously with the Cocoa Bears, you won't have the end sitting there because we're attaching it further down. So yeah, I was thinking about how best to do this, and because these elastic bits are actually sometimes not that useful, I have a different way than Becky probably, so I will attempt to thread my very tiny needle.
Yeah, that's something that we need to talk about, isn't it? When we're doing these big pom-poms, you really need to use a quite long pointy needle, don't you?
Yeah, because the little ones seem to be a bit softer, but the big furry ones, they're quite hard to get a needle.
So we're going to be putting the needle through the pom-pom in order to secure it nice and tightly, but the centre is quite solid and big. So you do need a long, pointy needle. Now we're going to be getting some of these, and all the group managers will have these available for you to use if you haven't got one, so don't worry. Also, if you don't feel like you're up to sewing on pom-poms, that's absolutely fine, isn't it?
All too fiddly and, and awkward,
Anyway, carry on, Mel.
I start around the little elasticy bit, so I'm just going to go straight up through the top, leaving a nice big tail on that side, and then try not to catch too much fur in it. Back down again on the other side of the end. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. So
a special tool.
oh gosh, together. So I've got my little plier scissor things that will hopefully help me pull the needle through. So that is why you need a really pointy needle and maybe some help.
Sometimes if you give it a bit of a wobble, it helps, doesn't it, to get it out, but it can be quite tricky, especially when you've got the yarn on the needle.
Let me just make sure that.
And you can see there, if you just show everyone the top, and you can see that the
they're pretty much somewhere in there.
You really can't see
yarn,
it,
but it does hide if you just take a little stitch. So now that I've done that, I'm pretty much probably going to ignore the elastic and just sew it on securely. We'll see how that goes. Becky's not sure.
No, absolutely. I think if it works for you, it works for you. So I tend to just take my needle and poke it through the top of my hat to in the centre where I've pulled my stitches together, and pull it through, and then I just pop it through the elastic just to start me off, just so that I know that I've got the pom-pom in the centre, and then go back down again through the centre. And then I know that I've got my pom-pom pretty much in the centre of my hat. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I could just leave it like that? But unfortunately, that's not the case. So in order to make it nice and secure, I now will just do a couple of over stitches just to keep it in place. And then I'm going to do the actual securing it properly. So if you've got really strong hands and if you've got a really pointy needle, you can do the same thing that Mel's just done and go up through the middle of the pom-pom and back down. It will hide the yarn, the fluffiness of the pom-pom will hide it. However, not everybody wants to do that, so another option is to bring it out the side. So it requires a little bit of wobbling and a little bit of poking, but you can,
sharp needle.
Yeah, you need a sharp needle and you need to just bring it out the side. I've never tried these before. I'll give them a whirl. I tend to just give it a wobble. I can't. I'm worried I'm going to stab myself in the face.
No.
There we go.
Okay.
Out it comes.
Right.
There you go. And then exactly the same as Melanie did just before. Just a small little stitch, and then just go back down through the centre before. And then we're going to do that again on the other side, and then we're going to secure it off.
Yeah.
So you carry on with yours.
So I usually, I've got my two long tails here, I usually actually put a needle on both tail, just because it's how I like to do it. So we're going to find that point at the base of the decreases and just go in on either side of that first V stitch where it decreased, so one with each needle, or if you're doing it one at a time, then you'll just do one side and then the other. We'll pull that through. I'm not really sure why I do two needles.
Why not?
I think it, yeah.
If it works for you, it works for you.
Try one little knot there. This little knot does help to secure it. Right, we're back.
There we go, we're back.
Awesome. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I tie my little knot, then I go up somewhere through that stitch, and actually I do go through the elastic and then pull it down again to the inside, and then I'm going to let's keep it quite close to where the pom-pom is. Should probably change that to a blunt needle. Catching. And then I do the same with my other needle. That's why I use two. Keep it even. Just find the elastic again. I just go through the elastic to sort of from either side to pull it flat a little bit. So I think that helps with it not be floppy if the elastic becomes an issue. Keep catching other bits of the hip and here.
Oh, that's a nuisance, isn't it?
That's not ideal.
Alright.
And so again, just weaving these ends in, keep things secure.
Yeah, which is exactly what I've just done. So I've now gone through one side of the pom-pom and back down, and then I went through the other side of the pom-pom and back down, which is tricky, you know, it is quite tricky because the pom-poms are quite stiff.
Yeah.
But I find if you just give it quite a good wobble, the needle a good wobble, it does make it easier.
Work
So then
your
I've just,
wires and
yeah. If you
help out if you need it.
if you don't mind the danger involved in using those, then give it a whirl. And then I've just sewn over and secured my yarn as I would if I was finishing off any
And
other
I am
kind of knitting.
tying knots again. I don't usually like knots. Knots are bad. But yeah, to help secure these, I'm just weaving those ends a little bit.
And there she is, Amy with a pom-pom. And you can see that it's not really wobbly, it's quite secure. It moves, it's got a little bit of movement in it, but it's not flopping about all over the place, it's staying in position. I think that's okay, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's what you're aiming for, that kind of movement, that kind of, it's got a bit of natural movement, but it's not flopping backwards and forwards and lolling about all over the place. It looks secure and like it's part of the hat. And Mel got the job of doing 2 pom-poms. So.
Yeah. I'll just snip these ends off and then you can have a look.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just, avoiding that little bit of elastic, because often if you're just using the elastic, it's too floppy. But if you're weaving through the pom-pom, then that does help secure it to the hat as well.
Yeah.
I can finish off the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4 on that point there later on.
Super.
And then a little tag for me. We just put to the, is that the left or the right? That side anyway.
Depends on which way you're looking at it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
big
same
one.
for me. Would go just
So,
there, and then we sew it on, and then ta-da!
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Good luck.
Little cocoa bears and Amy's and pom-poms.
Yay. Hopefully that's helped with pom-poms. If you've got any problems or questions, or if you're finding it really tricky, you can just ask one of us, and we can always
do it
give
at the
you.
group.
Yeah, we're happy to do it at groups and to get used to doing it with the different types of pom-poms. Okay, great. Thanks everybody.